Usually, I do not comment on subjects like this. However, the queer community is prevailing at a rapid state. One of the things that got my attention was a very old lady who came up to me with tears in her eyes, describing how her only son went to the United States with a him to LGBTQ, and now, so our only child, the only hope of the family. Do you know what it means for an African to send their child to the United States? It means they had to scrape up every single dollar, every single naira, convert it to the high level currency, send the child with the hope that he's going to become a somebody.
To become great, come back and compensate the family. The same way the Indians force their children to become doctors or lawyers is the same way Nigerians or Africans would concoct finances in an attempt to send their children abroad, let them go there, hustle hard, make money, come back and establish. That's how they think. So for a mother to hear of her child's antics, it brings tears to my eyes. It's very sad. So my friends, I chose not to sit tight, knowing fully well I have the intellect and the capability to decimate this worldview within a fraction of a second. I've taught you in this house, you do not take action without reason. For every action you take, good or bad, there is an intent behind it. Also, the subconscious mind has 80% control of your life because it has 80% control of your actions. That's why the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. The majority of you have been in situations where you harbor negative sentiments about a colleague or a person in power. Confined to a group, unknowingly to you, you express that dissatisfaction only to recall when the word is out. Exactly. So for as long as you think something, unconsciously, the only time you realize the word has been said or the action has been taken is when in fact it has already been taken. So the solution to this problem is not to try and stop yourself mechanically. It would only lead you to destruct. The solution is to not harbor it at all. I gave you this preamble because we're leading somewhere. We are leading to the fact that you who transitioned did not do it out of free will. There are certain factors that contributed to the decision making. And today I'll give you three decisions that causes an individual to transition. Three decisions that makes a standing man to sit. Three decisions that once you get it right, evolve your life. Now, I want you to send this video to any single person who you think have made the wrong decision. Even the Bible says it. You preach deliverance to the poor. Deliverance doesn't just happen at the instance of the casting of demons. You also have to remove the wrong narrative that invited those demons. Satan doesn't function arbitrarily. The first thing he does is to introduce a wrong mindset that gives him free reign over your life. Guard your heart with all diligence because out of it are the issues of life. So guard your heart. Your heart means your mind. Guard your mind because out of it are the issues of life. And as I have so astutely explained, demonstrated how your mind leads to action and action produces results. Result determines the ultimate quality of your life. Are you seeing the pattern? Instead of attacking the quality of your life, Satan is everything but a fool. He has the advantage of time. Attack your mindset and every single thing would follow suit. Look at the West. It's a battle over the minds of individuals. Every single person coming with their narrative. In fact, it's a very good example. If you go to the West, one of the prevalent problems is the battle for the mind, the battle for media, the battle of controlling what people see, the battle of pushing narratives. Go to the House of Senate. The senators are always trying to pass a bill, either in favor of the LGBTQ or some heinous narrative. One of the first things that causes a standing man to sit is validation. Validation. Humans, in fact, all humans seek validation. I'll give you an example. In fact, I'll give you an explanation. The real question is to what degree? Because everybody seeks validation. You think those athletes who bust their butts, get up at 2 a.m. in the morning, work as hard as possible, do their single best to perfect their craft or to be the best in that endeavor, do it because they solely love it? No, there is a tinge of validation. There's a tinge of satisfaction that your life is counting. You're doing something well. When you transition, you start getting negative comments. Every single person in your family, even those who had abandoned you, are calling to check in. You open up your phone and it's filled with text messages. So previously, you've been in obscurity where nobody talked to you, you're that invisible kid. Finally, this transitioning somehow fills that void. You see, the problem is larger than it looks like. That's why when you try to argue against this wrong narrative, they defend it vehemently. Not necessarily because they believe in the ideology, not necessarily because they believe in that logo, but what the logo has done for them, the validation they receive, the comments. You see, you have received the outcome. You are not gratified in the same way as an athlete. Only you did it in a wrong way. Only you used a wrong outlet. Everybody seeks validation, but you're receiving yours from a wrong outlet. LGBTQ. Where? Which leads us to number two. The desire for progress. Validation leads to progress. And one of the human desire, in fact, I looked this up, is the desire for progress. Progress is the only thing keeping you and I waking up in the morning, not necessarily hope. Hope is a component of progress. Progress, the idea you're moving forward. That's why things like Instagram and Facebook, all of these channels or pages with a number count that gratifies the creator, gratifies the owner of the account that he's making progress. That's why people in today's day and age will kill, clamor, get naked, do all kinds of heinous things just for a bit of increase in your social standing. It signals progress. So all of the problems of society in today's day and age is not limited to the problems you trying to advise 304 or advise an OnlyFans model to quit OnlyFans is larger than it seems. It's not giving up the OnlyFans that she can't do. It's giving up the following, the attention, this idea of progress, the fulfillment that comes from that endeavor. Progress is what keeps me and you going. Progress is what would make a man give up a decade of his life in a corporation with the hope one day I'm going to become the CEO. One day I'm going to hold a prestigious position. So it's this idea of progress that makes people transition. Because transitioning fills that void of progress. You're making progress with your life. You transition, and all of a sudden, validation, which signals progress. You see, all of these points are sequential. From validation, which leads to progress, then the last one, which is people would rather feel anything than nothing. I'll say it again. People would rather feel anything than nothing. That's why businessmen would rather inject themselves with poison. People would rather feel stimulated than nothing. This ties back to our principle of obscurity. You've lived in obscurity. You've lived invisible. Nobody noticed you until you took this step of mutilating yourself, cutting off genitals, and changing things you shouldn't. Feeling something, and entrepreneurs will back me up and nod their head in agreement. There is a way the pressures of business, not hitting that deadline, not hitting that goal, will so consume you such that you would do anything to escape. Either you resort to drugs, women, or any kind of heinous activity to feel something. Not necessarily, and the people I'm talking to would nod their head in agreement. Not because you're attracted to that outlet, not because you desire the lady, not because you enjoy intimacy, but to feel something now, to do it now, to feel high, to escape from that scenario. That's what you want. LGBTQ fills that void. All I have listed here today are basic human challenges. If you understand business and the strategies of life, the best way to sell a product, the best way for your idea to be accepted is one that solves a problem. I listed 3 problems the LGBTQ solves for humanity. So for as long as you can find your way around that, you are fine. You can help the individual. One of the cure-all solutions to these 3 points, like I said, I've taught it in this house. You do not solve problems by solving problems. You solve problems by identifying the cause and providing solution. The problems would melt like wax before sun. So the cause of those problems is lack of purpose, purposelessness. Trying to contend with the individual points might lead you to a different solution, plus it's exhausting. Even the Bible says it. When the axe head is blunt, prepare to dissipate energy. The cure-all solution is to find purpose. Why are you here? What is God's plan for you? Why were you put on this earth? What script are you here to fulfill? And if purpose is something you lack, I have extensive videos on that wise. There's a playlist dedicated to that subject. Do well to check it out. And as always, my friends, a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.